Almost like a hidden W in there. Retesting. Anyway, just, whispers of TA. So right now, Bookmap is suggesting we dump to 111,001. That's on the table. And again, if we lose this level, look, I mean, this says we could go even lower. 111.1 would be nice, right? But you can see there is a lot of liquidity right there, and it would make sense. So here we go with the day. Can Bitcoin hold 112.5? It's really what's going on right now. Look, resistance at 11.8, and even resistance right here at about 112,100. So there's, look at this, bounce. So 112,000, somewhere between 11,008 and 112,001 is a key area. It looks like that's where the battleground is today. And so far, the bulls are fighting to keep it alive. I mean, look at that shoulder, head, right
order,
shoulder.
111, 500 and 111K trying to pick up. And Thomas, bro, what is an undercarriage? Well, you must come to Chart Hackers, my friend. You must come and join us, sir, and we'll teach you these things. So basically, the undercarriage is an area of resistance or support, and it's basically this guy over here. So when you see on your charts, you see this type of action there, that's pretty much an undercarriage. Okay, when you pump into the resistance zone, that's essentially what it is. And Captain Kung Fu, bro, I'm telling you, I'm bringing you guys something like that. It's gonna be something super fun like that. I'm telling you. It's coming, it's in the making. Okay, so here's my BTC plan: 111, 500, 111K. I've got some preset orders, and obviously I'm still running that BTC short. I'm $100,000 short at the moment. I did clip a little bit off earlier today. It was about 115,000 at one point. Then here's that OL. It picked up on a limit order. Again, I'm not going to get married to this thing, guys. If this OL explodes, I'm going to climb out of this thing. I don't want to play games until that thing is super overcooked there to the upside. There's the Sol Long that I started earlier or yesterday in the zone that I gave you guys. Super just scratching around on this thing. H-bar, there's the short. Pump, there's a head short again. Sui head short in play. Brett Long, I was a little bit underwater on Brett. I had to add to it for the when entry yesterday, but at least we're turning green now at the moment. And then I've got Say, XRP short, as you know. Sol short, as you know. What else I got? Hype's good. Virtual's good. Pump's good. E's good. Sui's good. Okay, so there's the current situation. I'm well balanced. I'm well hedged, and looking for some fun. So let's get into all these alts here, and let's make it count. So virtual, you can see, if this narrative continues with virtual and the current AI situation, what do they call it? X402. Basically, AI agents paying on your behalf for information or whatever. Virtual could obviously be the beneficiary of that. If it does pump, you can see big resistance 1.7 on virtual. So how do we play this? If we are going to get this breakout into the next zone, how do we do it? Well, guys, this is how you can do it. This, you can see your support 1.37. This is your 200-day moving average that is holding here at the moment. You've got a 618 as well. So what you can do is play this area until it breaks. So if we do drop into that zone, look for longs here later on today, 1.37. If that fails, you've got another area, 1.28, that you can use. I would say if we start closing under this region, 1.28, then I start thinking that this is going to turn pretty bearish and we start heading all the way back down. Okay, so it's not really something I want to see play out for virtual. That's not my ideal scenario. But if you want to scalp, guys, 1.37, 1.28, play around on those zones. Who knows? We might even hit that later on tonight, and we might have a crack on that guy. Now, a big one for me, Hyperliquid. It's normally a fun trade, but you can see at the moment, this thing is just chopping around, giving us a bit of a hard time here, trying to decide which way it wants to go. Some people will argue this is a distribution or a BART pattern, and they're going to just drop it back down there anytime soon. And then there's going to be obviously arguments to say, well, they're just consolidating here and that this thing is absolutely going to explode to the upside. Well, what I do know with information we have is moves out of zones like this can often end in some kind of fake out, either up or down. So what you need to be prepped for at the moment is you can map out your range on your charts at home, whatever time frame you are watching. And what I would say is look out for, you know, some spook in the market. Maybe everyone freaks out, they drop it down. Look for a fake out under 45.8. That could be a sneaky little pump, and then they send this thing to the upside. Or alternatively, look for a fake pump later when Powell is talking. Look for a fake pump, you know, within half an hour or an hour after FOMC, bang, into that resistance zone, and that could be the move that drops you guys lower. Okay, so 51 into 51.5. That could be an interesting zone for us there on hype. Look at that. There's some nice horizontal as well. So look out for the false move to the upside. If we do start bleeding lower, guys, this is the typical setup that I'd be chasing here. And that's my bull zone. Okay, so it's 43.67 down to 41. Okay, that makes sense to me. Then I will cover those for you. But right now, that for me is where I want to play hype if we do start rolling over. Okay, let's get into pump. This thing obviously doing quite well again, and you can see it's pushing into our big resistance zone. Look at that, 50 days. A macro 382 trend resistance as well. That thing is it's quite a big zone, guys, and it takes me back to the when entry that I gave you guys 3 days ago, 2 days ago, and for me, this is still on the table. Okay, the situation has changed slightly. The ideal play would have been that we got the when entry on that third divergence print, but let's see here to reject pump, barring some miracle out there. So 535 into 5.6 still looks good for me. 5.25. If you want to play these games, what you want to do is you have multiple small orders here in that zone. Don't have one massive order over there, because then you can put yourself under 4% risk and get absolutely rinsed. So you ladder in nice and slowly in those zones. You look for that little fake out, and then you look for that drop to the downside. Okay, anything to do with privacy is definitely here to stay. Zcash, yeah, I mean, Zcash is absolutely cooking at the moment, and we know why. That narrative is hot, that narrative is strong at the moment. Okay, so guys, there's pump. That's the setup there. Then I've got one interesting for me. I haven't played with Aave in a very long time, and I wanted to just leave this here for you guys. Maybe it's something you just want to have a stink bird or something just in case, but there's a very simple setup here on Aave, and there's two zones that I want to bring to your attention. So just watch 219. Okay, 219 looks really nice. It's a 618 and trend. That's a nice bounce zone. So like market shits the bed, everyone's panicking. 219, 218 looks really good to me for Aave. If we get short-term panic in the market, a quick little sell-off into FOMC later on today, 224. Okay, double bottom here. Look at that. Bang. 224. Look for the longs there. You might get yourself a nice scalp here at minimal risk, like 1.5% risk at that 224. It could be a nice bounce on that guy. Okay, let's talk when entry. This thing was touch and go at one point last night, my when entry. Now, remember, every day after the show, what I like to do, and it's not what I like to do, it's what I love to do, is give you clarity. Okay, so myself and the team came up with when entry. You get a stop loss and you get multiple take profits, and you can set these types of trades, and you can see my thinking behind it and how you go about, you know, executing all these types of trades. Okay, and I see Mia's taken her TP. So yesterday's when entry was Brett. Okay, and we dropped it over here. And remember, the thing about this market, the most beautiful thing about this market is zones that you think are not going to get hit. Time and time again, they come and they surprise you every single time. Never say never in crypto. Okay, this was the when entry I dropped last night. That was the setup I dropped last night. Look what happens to Brett. Bang. Okay, straight into the slot. Okay, now who would have expected a massive dump like that on Brett? Now remember, these things act like magnets. Markets de-risk, shit goes down, and Brett dropped into the zone. And I want to show you guys again the importance of candle closes. If and when you can, at all times, look at this. Okay, you cannot make this up. How many times have you seen this? Look at those candle closes there above that stop zone. I said here, my SL under the zone. Look for the candle close below the zone. Okay, you kind of want to exit on a candle close when and if you can manage it. Obviously, you can't do it every single time because sometimes you're away from your desk and you don't want to watch your trade and things like that. But as and when you can, obviously manage it accordingly, back your levels, back your zones. Obviously, when they fail, yes, you're going to take a hit, but sometimes they stick you a little bit lower down and things like that. But in terms of a nice little mover, at least we got the move. You can see the process there on Brett. Now it remains to be seen what happens next. So for me, it's a very similar situation to Sui and ETH and those types of things. We could very well find ourselves a situation where Brett now comes and prints a new low and starts moving into this lower region, this 278 zone, and that is then going to print some degree of divergence for us, especially on let's see, let's actually confirm the 2 hour. Let's make sure it's the same as the other guys. Yeah, that should print divergence for us there on the 2 hour if we get that bounce. Okay, so look out for Brett. If you're sitting in that trade, you can see I'm still in that trade. I've been trimming little bits of that thing. And right now, you can put your stop at entry. If there's going to be volatility, you're probably going to get stopped out and you'd have to relook at the setup. Okay, so just play it safe, guys. Obviously, just protect yourselves where possible, but nice to get one moving. And that was like a true life scenario here, waiting for the candle closes, letting it play out. I mean, it looks even more exaggerated on that 2 hour time frame. Okay, so backup zone for Brett, guys, 278. Look out if that region starts getting pinged, you might get some kind of bounce in that zone. Okay, 278 on Brett. Now let's talk Sui, and this is an interesting one for me, and not necessarily something I want to go through the mental anguish of watching it play out. But there's a possibility of a 4% dump in the market later today, and if that happens with Sui, we're getting a banger. So 2.42 is an absolute banger for me. This is 786 and trend on Sui in that region, and look at that order block waiting for us. Okay, so this is for me, like, it's worth, like, it might be worth a little bit of short-term pain for a possible nice bounce here on Sui. So guys, 2.42, look for this guy. You'll probably get bullish divergence as well. Bang, something like that. Okay, down at 2.42. Now in the interim, what can you use? And what should you be looking at? Well, if the market starts pumping, where does this thing reject? Where can you take profit? There's your VWAP. Okay, right now, 2.58. If this thing starts screaming, guys, 2.73 into like 2.75, married to these things, you want to be cautious at those types of areas because we can obviously reject there. It's FOMC, remember, and things could get spicy. Okay, so you've got your 2.42 lower down, you've got your danger zones to the upside that I'm tracking, and like a little bit of a degen zone. If we come back and visit this 2.48, maybe you can have a crack here. Okay, 2.48 is your little degen zone there on Sui. Okay, let's talk Aero. I covered this one yesterday. This was a breakout play and then a retest. We pretty much in the zone now where we need to see this retest hold. This is our degen zone. Look at that. Here's our degen zone on Aero, 95. Guys, that's a must hold. If we lose that, look for longs here later on today. This is a banger. 894 down to 856. 894 to 856. That's a banger zone here on Aero. That makes a ton of sense to me. If Aero starts pumping, where do you short it? Where do you take profit? Where's your exit plan? Look at this over here. You've got your 50-day MA. You've got your 618. Look for a wick into that zone there. So 107 down to about 105. Look at 107 to 105 on Aero. That could be a nice short. That could be a nice rejection zone later on. Remember, higher time frame, Aero has actually broken a trend, and it is looking good, but you could get that retest there all the way back down, for example. Okay, so 107, 104 is a possible short zone, and right here, your degen zone where you are, 95 must hold. Okay, there's your little local VWAP, your 0.5. That could be something there for you guys. Let's talk XRP. Why won't this thing go down, James? Can you make it go down, please? Like, just do something. Why is it that I'm sitting in XRP, fucking everything else falls over, XRP just chills, okay? And I mean, it's quite frustrating. Look what it hits here. It hits our local bull zone, VWAP 236 fib. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, it's a nice little reaction for XRP. Again, I can't tell you what happens next. What I do know is when we consolidate like this, you get fake outs. Look at this fake out that XRP gave yesterday. Look at that. It drops below the zone. Okay, these are the typical things you want to look forward to. Look at that. Drops below the area, little stop hunt, pumps it back up. Okay, it took all the scalpers out. Look for these moves here from these market makers. They happen all the time. So again, if we're going to get a short opportunity on XRP or to add to my short here, we're looking at this region over here, zone 1, so 2.7, possible pump up and rejection. Alternatively, 2.76, guys. That looks still good. Still looks good to me. My exit plan on that short, if we close above that 50-day MA, I'm throwing in the towel until tomorrow. Okay, we'll try again tomorrow. Okay, but then I'm throwing in the towel at those types of levels. So 2.76 above that, I'm going to be done. Let's talk gaming. Look at this. This IMX short that we gave you the other day fell over really nicely. Okay, trying to make a miraculous recovery. But what I want to give you guys here is potential short zones again for this guy. Okay, there's some big areas here to the upside for IMX. And for example, if we start ripping today into FOMC and Powell comes out and it's like what everyone's expecting and his typical rejection zone. So 566 IMX, that's a possible short again. And then 60 is a possible short again for me on this IMX. So two nice areas there. And then downside support, guys, like, yeah, I mean, if they totally come and smash us, you're going to be looking for longs at 47 again on this IMX. Okay, so just be patient with this guy. Okay, those are your danger zones there to the upside. You can see really nice confluence. And Thomas Tyson says no shitting in the casino. Never shit in the casino, guys. Never shit in the casino. Real food company ENA, absolute shitcoin. I think it's still actually in the zone from yesterday. It's like ball herring shit. Let's talk super. Another gaming narrative here. And again, dropped lower, didn't hit the monster zone. Yeah, this is what I want to see here. 376. Okay, so I took the stop yesterday. I've been nibbling in this thing today, just kind of waiting. And again, guys, that 786 lower down at 376. I think this can come into play. I just want you guys to be ready if there's pain. It's a 4% dip in the market. It could be a nice surprise later on. Okay, so possible drop into that area there on the super. Look for the bounce. Okay, 376, that could come into play. Now, I'm obviously going to be live trading. Nobody likes hairballs. Okay, I'm going to be live trading with the boys later on, live on YouTube. So, you know, whatever happens between now and then, we're going to actually deal with later. We'll be live. We'll be looking at it, and we're going to be trying to sculpt some of the action. It's going to be wild. I'm looking forward to it. But that's it, guys. So good luck for FOMC. Just be careful with what you're doing. You can see I'm pretty hedged at the moment, looking for direction, and then we figure it out. Come tomorrow, we back to business again. Hopefully Z and Trump sort their stuff out, and maybe we can do some grinding there, and maybe James will arrive in a green shirt. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to do here.
Never know.
Okay. Anything you would like to say?
Good luck, everyone. We need it today more than ever. Good
He
luck.
sounds tired. He sounds tired. He sounds so tired. Okay, guys, it's going to be fun. That's I can guarantee you it's going to be fun. Okay, guys, charts will be in the Chart Hackers Discord. See you later.
laid in the sand. She had a blessed day. I said, thank you for my 11-year-old. She had a good day at school. She's been happy. Everything's been going. I said, thank you for the health of my wife. And then I said, thank you for the health of me. And thank you for my family, my friends, all the lifers. And I say, you know, if you didn't keep us safe today, I wouldn't be able to focus on my trades. I wouldn't be able to focus on money. Money wouldn't mean nothing. It's still, even though it's like, you know, you want to push financially. You want to say it's everything in a way, but it also means nothing. Because we know if we lost the ones we loved, we would never really be caring about our wallet that day. Like, eventually you get back to regular life somehow. But in the way in which I lost my mom on Thanksgiving Day in front of me as we approach that time, that will never leave me. Like, and I'll always remind you to call your loved ones and tell them that you love them. I'll always remind you to call your mother and tell her you love her, because I can't call my mother. I can connect to her spiritually. I can pray with her in my mind, but I can't hear her voice ever again in this world, you know? And she had such a lovely voice. So if you have the ability to pick up that phone today, to call your mom or your dad, I can't do either. I highly suggest you do. If you have a long brother that you haven't talked to in a while, he's been kind of grumpy. You got a sister that sometimes you both don't get along. Whoever it is in your life that you know you want to connect to, but there's been a distance. Today, for me, can you give that person a call? Because I guarantee it's going to help you in some way, shape, or form. And be the bigger person. Suck it up. Who cares? You know what I mean? Who was right and who was wrong? Just give that person a call. Say what up. Say, you know, I don't know what happened, but I just want to make sure you're okay. You know, I love you. And sometimes you might not get the response you're looking for. A lot of times you won't. It might be just as nasty if they've always been. But at least you do your part in the world to spread love. And that's all you can do. Understand? Amen. So, yeah, this doesn't look amazing. So, yeah, we get caught up in this. Like today, it's going to dump, and everyone's going to get emotional about the dump. And everyone's going to forget about how beautiful this life is. And all we're going to focus on is all the money that we lost. You know what I mean? Markets can just drain you of everything. Take away your ability to almost live sometimes. Like, you know, it's happened to me many times. I just want to tell everyone, don't let it happen to you. Because you'll look back on your life and be like, man, I spent 4 years staring at that market and I barely lived my life. I didn't work out. I didn't go places, you know. I didn't cherish my family and friends. So find that balance if you can. It's not easy, especially when you're first trading. There is a sacrifice at the beginning, and I still do it to this day. Look at me running my channel and all I do. It's a never-ending battle. Okay? It's not easy. It never. Because we're going to get lost in our thoughts. We're going to get lost in our emotions. Life is going to get tough. There's going to be times when we don't understand and we want to give up. But if we have a routine, we just follow it and we shut up and get it done. You know, there's days where I don't know exactly what the market's going to do. There's days where it looks confusing. There's days where I start the stream and I got to figure it out. Today was a pretty interesting day right off the bat, right? And I have to have my wits about me. I got to stay calm, mentally focused and ready. So I worked out. I listened to Jim Rohn today. I knew today would be a tough day in the market. It's going to be a long day with FOMC. You work out. You get the endorphins running. You get yourself in a good spot. You make sure that you take care of you no matter what the world is doing, because the world is going to keep coming at you. You need to set a tone for yourself so you can go after anything that's coming at you. You know, if once you have a system in place, it's going to be harder to knock you off your system no matter what the world's giving you. But if you don't have a system, they're going to be able to take full advantage of you and throw you off. So we either fill out this descender, which is the most likely scenario, or we somehow save the day with an Adam and Eve double bottom here. Exactly, you know. So now, what I want to see now, too, is the total market cap. Look, it's falling out. Doesn't look amazing. Bitty bitty Bitcoin, man. Oh, Bitcoin. So let's take a look at the total market cap because, all coins are going to fall. That's why I caution, don't see me. I didn't post altcoins yesterday or the night, at night. When I stop posting altcoins, it's me telling you, hey, man, they're high risk right now. Total market cap still bounced off the daily 200 moving average. We're still in higher lows. It's okay so far. I mean, we do see head and shoulder vibes, and we have made a lower high there. It's, or hit a resistance. And again, I'm back to that same idea. Like, we got to see a bit of a bounce. So here's my theory, and this is what I would stick to. I am a trend analysis guy, and I like my trends. The daily, to me, would have to close a daily candle below 3.57 trillion. At that point, we might be making a right shoulder, and that could be, and we come and test the daily 200 moving average. But as long as we stay above 3.71 here, this resistance area, I mean, it's a pretty key liquidity zone there. As long as we stay above that, I mean, we could still bounce, fulfill this channel, and get on out of here. It still says, though, like, even if we bounce, it's like November 20th. You know what I mean? Like, still tells me that we got to wait until, like, this late November. But if that is the case, we would spend most of November pumping to the upside. Like, basically, November 1st through the 14th, November to the 7th or to the 10th, we would be getting a pump. It would be one of these, like from September 30th up to, that was a basically 9-day period. It could be maybe from the 1st to the 9th, the 31st to the 8th, something like that. So we got to make sure that the daily does not give up these key levels on total. It's just important, right? Once you lose 3.71, it looks like we could come down and test the daily 200 and go to 3.57 trillion dollars. This is the entire market cap in all of cryptocurrency, okay? So still hugging a higher low, possible right shoulder in a complex head and shoulder. Like, it's definitely in some sketchy business right now. Bitcoin holding 112,300. I know you're holding your breath and you just can't wait to see what's going to happen. Let's take a look at the price here for BTC, 112,300 on the 1 hour time frame. Is anything up? Bitcoin Cash a little bit in 7 days. Wow, humanity's up 95, Pi's up 37, Chainlink's up to 18. That ain't bad. Altcoins aren't too bad, right? It could be worse here for the altcoins. In the last hour, nothing, right? It's red, red, red. Let's take a look at the bubbles. And again, DBR, only thing that's up in the last hour. It's a sea of flatness or red in the last day. Yeah, gems and DBR. Still some gems. There's always a gem peak even, which is interesting. But yeah, not the day to be running into alts. The week wasn't too bad. There was some greenery there. Even Privacy Coin R, Giggle getting a little bit of a bounce finally back. B, which I've been watching on and off. But for the most part, it's been a red zone for these altcoins. They've been very, very, very high risk. So possible Adam and Eve here. Look at this dig in there at 112,222. We definitely dug in for a double bottom. That's why I watch the 1 minute. Right now, I have no idea what's going to happen, but if the 1 minute gets above the 200, I know how to trade it. You don't have to know what price action is going to do. You just have to know how to do it when it does it, if that makes any sense. You just got to know how to do it when it does it, baby. Got to know how to get it done when it's time to get it done. Yeah, you just got to have a system in place to know what to do and when to do it. That's all. Like, I know what I'm going to do and when to do it, and I'm going to wait for it. And it's funny, I used to trade here all the time and wait for the bottom. And look, it is kind of a shoulder, a head, and a possible right shoulder. There's a chance here. This Adam and Eve double bottom could play out. So only time will tell. We'll never know for sure what will happen, but we can speculate with probability. That's the beautiful thing. And a lot of times it does happen to play out. First thing that happens is the 5 second will get above the 200 moving average. It'll then flag out with the 21, just like the weekly, just like the daily, just like the 1 minute. Every single time frame will do this. I don't advise you to be on the 5 second much, but for teaching purposes, you can see you'll get See, what you want to see is you want to see price action kind of early like this.
Today's a very important day. We do have interest rate decision and the Fed press conference. We're very likely going to see some local volatility. Now I'm going to explain the level of support that needs to hold for Bitcoin, because if this is lost, we're very likely going to come down to 103.6K, which is the lows from the 17th of October. Now, we are still maintaining uptrend structure for the last 10 days, as you can see here. Now, a lot of people might think this is only a bear flag. We got a big drop from all-time high, and we just really grinding to the upside, and it will end up losing inevitably this level of support, and we come into claim here below 103.7K, which is the low here from the 17th of October. I'll be explaining in detail today the most important levels of resistance and support that you need to pay attention when we get the news event today. Now, we're also taking a look at the liquidity and a very important chart here that is very disturbing, guys, that I want to explain throughout the end of the video. So make sure to stay tuned till the very end. Now, let's go right away here with the price of Bitcoin. Yes, we had this major move to the downside from all-time high. And you might think there's a lot of volume. This is just the initial leg of the bear market. The uptrend momentum that we've had in the last 10 days does look very corrective. But what is the most crucial level of support to maintain to get more upside momentum? Well, it is the 111K zone. Why is it this zone? We literally have the point of control of this entire range sitting at $111,000. We are maintaining uptrend support, as you can see. And we also have anchored VWAP from the pivot low right over here of the 17th of October. Now, the anchored VWAP has been a crucial level of resistance throughout the last week. We did get rejected from the anchored VWAP right over here, as you can see on the chart. However, we did break it just last week, reclaimed it as support, and continue to the upside. Now we just literally trading in those anchored VWAPs right over here. If we lose this anchored VWAP from this higher low of the 22nd of October, then eventually we are looking at the higher low support trend line and the point of control. If this zone is lost, then I would say that we're likely going to come down to 103.6K. This momentum needs to maintain. Of course, you do have the value area low, which is slightly above 109K. So a little bit of wick momentum here is totally fine, but this would be the crucial area for the price of Bitcoin to find that support and continue the momentum to the upside. So pay attention to this area in between 111 and 109K. There's only a gap of $2,000. It can wick, but this is the most important zone of support, as you can see. Higher low support trend line, anchored VWAP from the lows, point of control of the entire range. And yes, we are continuing this uptrend momentum for the last 10 days. So this could actually be a multiple 1-2 setup, and we're just building up that explosive move to the upside in the next coming weeks. Now, I do have a few trades open, mainly on Ethereum, on BTCC, and on Bluffin. Now, I am not worried about closing this position just as of yet. It all depends on today and see if we are going to hold that support zone for the price of Bitcoin. But overall, I do see Ethereum holding pretty nicely. Remember, if you are interested in trading, you do have incredible bonuses down below. You got Bluffin with a 15% cashback, which is only till tomorrow, guys. Take advantage of this right away with the link down below. You can actually trade gold here using stable coins or any of the cryptocurrency as well, such as Bitcoin. Now, you do have BTCC as well with a $10,000 deposit bonus. You can also trade stock market S&P 500, guys. Check out the links down below to claim those bonuses on these exchanges. Now, of course, I have to understand the bearish case scenario. That is breaking here below $109,000, potentially even hitting 107, 106. If we are going to claim this higher low, if it is going to be touched, then look no further. After that bounce, we are likely going to backtest that point of control or the scene of the crime of this higher low support trend line and continue the momentum to the downside to just break below 103.6K. Now, of course, this is the area. This is really the zone that we need to form a higher low. If we break down, I would say we're just going to have to wait and see how low can we go on the price of Bitcoin. Now, what is the bullish case scenario eventually? Well, even here, we are holding support. When we do go to the Bybit chart, The low here that was created on the 17th of October was a higher low, and we formed a triangle pattern. Now we are testing the resistance as support of the triangle lower high. That is also with the anchored VWAP from the higher low of the 22nd of October. So we are finding some support here. It is totally fine that if we do break this support, as explained, we do have the point of control of this entire range sitting around about $111,000 and this higher low support as explained here on the Coinbase chart. So there is a lot going on here. We really do not want to lose this zone. Even when we do get the interest rate decision and also the Fed press conference, we could get that volatility. It might drop a couple of $1,000s. If we come to this zone, I do see this area as a very good, strong bouncing zone. Now let's talk about directly the bullish case, right? Which of course, the bearish case, if we lose this major level of support, then eventually I am looking for $103,000 in the next week or so. The bullish case scenario is that we're actually holding support right over here as explained on the Bybit chart. We are at lower high resistance from the triangle. We have the anchored VWAP and we just form a multiple 1-2 setup here. Now, of course, with this multiple 1-2, you're expecting throughout the next coming days to develop that third wave and break out the $116,000 resistance where we got rejected in the last few days. If we break this area, we do have a massive fair value gap, which we do not have much volume, not many resistance here in this range. Of course, we do have the golden pocket from all-time high to the low, which is sitting in the middle of that fair value gap at 117.7K. And it is actually the point of control of the entire range since July. When we do zoom out on the higher time frame, yes, it is true that we do have that point of control. But overall, if we are going to be breaking up to the upside, we are forming a fifth wave, which is very likely going to be that third wave. I would not expect here a kind of a triple top situation in the next coming days if we were to tackle this area. So I would be expecting a significant breakout just because we have that massive fair value gap and we're heading up above $120,000. Then this zone is going to be paid attention because yes, we do have the value area high. We do have that consolidation here that we had on the second week of October. So that is without a doubt a zone where I would expect a pullback. But if we break above $116,000, I do strongly believe that we are going to get that push to the 120K region where we could be getting that first initial pullback. Now, why are we taking into consideration that we do have the potential of moving to higher prices in the next 1 to 2 weeks? Well, that is zooming out here on the 4-hourly because a lot of people will believe that eventually with this move down, we have broken structure. We got beneath these higher lows. It's a very strong impulse with high volume. Well, why not form a lower high, right? It's kind of the most obvious scenario. That's it. Bear market. We're going to lower prices in the next coming weeks. So why be so you have that hopium of that we are going to continue to all-time high. As explained on many videos throughout the last few weeks, from this correction, we formed a three-wave structure. And that's where we can get together here a flat structure. Now, a flat structure is part of a correction, especially on the higher time frame when you're coming from a major uptrend. So yes, we are taking into consideration that this could be the low if we maintain those supports that I've explained here throughout the video. So does it have a chance to form multiple 1-2s and continue to the upside? Absolutely yes. And it all has to do with this three-wave structure to the upside that is giving the potential of this being a flat and this the end of the correction. Something that we need to take into consideration. Talking about the liquidity, we do have lots of liquidity above $116,000. It is true that we do have liquidity to the downside. So we can't really rely on the liquidity because there's lots to the upside and lots to the downside, okay? Now, October is slightly in the red. As we do know, October has usually been the most bullish month for Bitcoin in the last 10 years. Can we flip it in the green as we just have 2 days left? I strongly believe that that could be the case if we are maintaining that support as explained in today's video. Something that is very disturbing, of course, when we do talk about the 4-year cycle theory and seasonality, yes, do we have the potential of already topping out? Q4 of the 4-year cycle theory is when we top out. December, November, possibly October, where we did hit $126,000. When we do take a look at the dollar index, we know that when the dollar index is in a bull run, then obviously the price of Bitcoin enters a bear market. We can see this throughout the history in the last 10 years. We can see 2013, where we had a consolidation on the dollar index. Okay, as you can see, this is where the price of Bitcoin was topping out. We got a major rally here on the dollar index, bear market for Bitcoin. 2018, it was the same picture. A consolidation of a few months, finding a bottom on the dollar index, bear market throughout 2018 for Bitcoin. 2021, the same structure. We were bottoming out here for a few months, massive rally, entering into 2022 here, as you can see, bear market for Bitcoin. Right now, the price of the dollar index is consolidating for a few months, finding a bottom range, and Bitcoin has had a massive rally throughout the last couple of years. Could this be it, guys, where we just have a few more weeks to maybe hit one more all-time high, or is the top in according to the dollar index chart here? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'll be doing a live stream later on, guys, to go a little bit more technical and in detail on the price of Bitcoin. So make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the live stream later on.
Trading way, we are tasting in a way. You're tasting the trade, right? If you want to make a metaphor for how delicious a win could be and how nasty it tastes to lose. Understand? I mean, right? So, well, look at that. There's the dump. And when it dumps, this thing dumps. Like when this thing dumps, it goes blah, blah. Like, it's funny. Dump candles are like statements, right? They're just like blah.
Welcome back to the Crypto Watch channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is starting to retest a crucial area of support in the short term, but still playing out the bullish divergence while the US stock market is continuing to pump into all-time record highs ahead of the upcoming Fed meeting happening in just a couple of hours from now, which I'll talk about in just a moment, something that we need to pay attention to, while Ethereum has just now confirmed a break below this crucial area on the price chart, while the price of XRP is starting to possibly break out above this important level of resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before we start on the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, we need to talk about the upcoming FOMC meeting, also known as a Fed meeting, where the Federal Reserve in just a couple of hours from now is about to decide on interest rates, and we're most likely going to see an interest rate cut, reducing interest rates by 0.25%. But whatever the new number is, it will be released at exactly 6 p.m. GMT, so you could use that with your own time zone, but by the time you're watching this video, if you're watching it as soon as I post it, it'll be a couple of hours from now. And of course, as I mentioned in my last video, I will be sharing the new interest rate number the moment it gets released, within a matter of seconds from this number being released, in real time over on my Twitter or X, link below this video if you want that real time update. And just giving you a quick update on what the market is currently pricing in. Currently, the market is pricing in pretty much a 100% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut, so reducing interest rates by 0.25%. And the market really isn't pricing in anything other than that outcome, where they're almost pricing in no chance of keeping interest rates at the same level and almost no chance of cutting further than 25 basis points. And so what this basically means is the market is currently acting as if the interest rate is already being cut 25 basis points. They're already pricing that into the current market, which basically means if we get that expected outcome of 25 basis point rate cut, essentially that's neutral for markets, because markets are already pricing that in, already expecting it as if it's already happened. But if we see anything other than a 25 basis point rate cut in a couple of hours from now, that is where we could potentially see a lot of volatility, because that is not what the market is expecting. So for example, if we see a 50 basis point rate cut, so reducing interest rates by 0.5%, if that somehow happens, which right now is very, very low probability, then we'll likely see a huge bullish move, at least in the short term in the markets, a lot of volatility. And on the other hand, if we see no change in interest rates with this upcoming Fed meeting, so no rate cut at all, in that situation, of course, would likely see a short-term dump as a very likely scenario in the markets. And as usual, we have the Jerome Powell press conference, the Fed chair press conference, roughly half an hour, or starting roughly roughly half an hour after the rate decision. So at roughly 6:30 p.m. GMT, that press conference starts, which can also cause a bit of volatility depending on what the Fed chair actually says in that press conference. So keep that in mind. Around this time, in a few hours from now, expect a decent amount of short-term volatility in the markets. And if we're taking a quick look at the US stock market, I'm recording this video right before the US stock market's about to open, and currently it's set to open basically at all-time record highs, at the high that we saw in the previous trading day. So obviously the US stock market has been performing very well over the last 1 to 2 weeks or so, which can also help the crypto market. Usually if the stock market is extremely bullish, crypto is performing relatively well as well. And then of course, if we see a major dump in the US stock market, like what we saw a few weeks ago around the 10th of October, of course, when that happens, we also usually see a dump in the crypto market, as we saw a couple of weeks ago with that massive liquidation event at the same time as this liquidation event in the US stock market. And so in other words, it is very unlikely that Bitcoin and crypto will start a major bear market like what we saw in 2022 if the US stock market continues performing like this, pushing into all-time highs, because historically that has never happened. We've never seen basically a massive bear market like this while the stock market has been so bullish. Usually we see crypto bear markets like this, like 2022, when the stock market is also very bearish, like what we saw in 2022 in the US stock market. And so at least so far, this can give us confidence in the crypto market for the time being. As always, not financial advice, but if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today on the weekly time frame, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. So not a lot has changed on this chart over the last 1 day, but if we're taking a look at the weekly Bitcoin price chart right here, looking at the RSI, we still have a massive bearish divergence between the price and the RSI, meaning that at least for now, at the current stage in this bull market, we're currently losing bullish momentum, basically cooling off a little bit in the somewhat shorter term relative to the weekly time frame, which can mean most likely a period of at least a number of weeks, possibly a period of months, as a very likely scenario for the price basically lacking bullish momentum, slowing down, but potentially still within the bull market, kind of like what we saw around mid 2024, for example. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, of course, the price of Bitcoin is still holding above this important line right here, previous support, which will now once again likely act as new support. And that's sitting at closer towards 111,000 right now. So if we see a continued dip, expect a lot of support really in between 110.5K to 111,000. And as for other support and resistance to watch out for, of course, we have this short-term support based on previous resistance, which the price is now pretty much retesting and so far currently experiencing a slight bounce from. That's sitting in between around 111.6K to 112K approximately. And as for resistance, expect a lot of resistance, at least in the short term, sitting in between around 115.5K to 116,000, which is an area of resistance I've been warning about since before we perfectly rejected from that area over the last couple of days. But if the price can ultimately break out above 116,000 with confirmation, so a candle close here on the 6-hour time frame above 116,000 and actually holding above that level, in that situation, honestly, I'll be targeting roughly 121,000, really above 120,000, around 120.5K to 121,000 as the next major area of resistance that I'll be watching, the next major price target in the short term, if we first confirm a breakout above around 116,000. But obviously, if you've been watching my last couple of videos, this slight little cool off rejection in the immediate short term was very much expected due to the fact that we were running into this resistance, and also due to the fact that we were brushing against overbought in the 6-hour Bitcoin RSI, and of course on smaller time frames hitting overbought, which is a signal telling us that we're likely going to experience just a slight little cool off, but potentially still within the short-term bullish trend. So kind of like right now is potentially what we saw right here, for example. And at least as of right now, this bullish divergence on the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart is still currently active. We've not confirmed any invalidation signal to actually invalidate the bullish divergence, which means it's likely that the price will continue a little bit more of a relief and maybe ultimately another retest of this resistance within the next few days. But remember, that is based on the price charts alone. I want to remind you that in just a couple of hours from now, we have an FOMC meeting or a Fed meeting, which could potentially change things in the short term. So keep that in mind. There is a bit of uncertainty over over the next few hours as we're coming up to this Fed meeting, which means, of course, we could see some uncertain price action. It could really go anywhere depending on what is said in the Fed meeting. But if we see a relatively neutral Fed meeting, then basically expect the TA to continue to play out as I've been saying. And when it comes to my trading strategy, it has not changed at all over the last one day. I'm still currently in my futures grid bot over on my Pinex account, which is still making easy and passive profits in this Bitcoin and crypto market right here. So it doesn't really matter if we see a bit more of a dump and then my trading strategy for the price of Bitcoin and overall what I expect in the short term, and of course giving you a quick update on that upcoming Fed meeting in just a couple of hours from now. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see that in the shorter term we still have more liquidity towards the upside at around 116.4k give or take. So ultimately that's the next major price target towards the upside, which means ultimately if we see a relatively neutral or maybe a slightly bullish Fed meeting, anything other than a bearish Fed meeting, it's likely that we'll continue to see a slight little relief over the next couple of days here towards this resistance, to retest this resistance here as the price gets drawn towards this liquidity. But remember, we could potentially still struggle a little longer around this resistance in between 115,500 to 116,000. But if you want a completely no KYC alternative to Pinex to actually manually trade Bitcoin and crypto, to place long positions or short positions, for example, personally for those sort of things, I like to use 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also use. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below the video. In fact, the third link below the video will take you to this page right here, where you can also claim massive bonuses just by making an account, making deposits, and making trades. For example, up to 10,000 USDT in trial fund bonuses and 8,000 USDT in actual withdrawable stablecoins just by making an account, making deposit, and making trades over on 2bit, but only if you use that link. And on top of that, if you use the link below the video to make your account without making any deposits or any trades, you can get a free $30 sign up bonus and 1 month free VIP3 upgrade. So basically very cheap trading fees and essentially free money from the exchange just by simply making an account. It takes 30 seconds to do this using that third link below the video. But once again, if you don't use that link, you can't claim any of these bonuses here. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well take advantage of that using the links below this video. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, currently the Bitcoin dominance is still playing out this bullish divergence, which means ultimately expect just a very slight bullish relief as the most common outcome from a bullish divergence. And so basically the price action that we've seen every day over the last couple of weeks is ultimately what I expect moving forward as the most common outcome. Maybe a bit of choppy sideways price action here and there, but ultimately just a very, very slight bullish relief as a very likely outcome in the Bitcoin dominance moving forward. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, right now this bullish divergence is also active for Ethereum, which means continue to expect either the price to bounce around relatively sideways like this, or potentially play out just a slight bullish relief as the most likely outcomes, the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. And if we're taking a look at this 8-hour Ethereum price chart, we can see that over the last one day, we have now technically confirmed a couple of candle closes on the 8-hour Ethereum price chart back below this important area on the price chart, which was previous resistance and was a little bit of short-term support here over the last one day. And that was sitting in between around 40.60 to 4.1k. So obviously now that the price has broken below that area, that's not really good news in the immediate short term, and that could likely now become a new resistance again, which means if we see another little bounce here, expect the price to potentially struggle or possibly even reject from within this area 40.60 to 4.1k. And if the price can actually break out back above 4.1k and hold above that level, in that situation, expect to move towards this next resistance at around 42.50 to 42.80. And obviously over the last couple of days, we pretty much perfectly rejected from that exact area, which was an area that I warned about here on the channel before we rejected from that area. So still obviously acting as major resistance. And as for support to watch out for, expect some support at just under 4,000, around 39.50 give or take, based on this previous short-term resistance here, flipping into new support. And below 39.50, the next significant support is really in between around 37.20 to 37.60, so just below 3.8k as strong support down here. And honestly, now that the price of ETH has technically confirmed a break back below this area in between 40.60 to 4.1k, even if we break out back above that area, due to the fact that we have now technically confirmed a break below that area, I have basically lost confidence in this triangle pattern on the 4-hour Ethereum price chart ultimately playing out, which means no longer really expect this to play out. We've pretty much lost all of the bullish momentum here, at least in the short term. Now, technically speaking, we haven't fully invalidated the pattern because we haven't technically broken back below roughly 39.70, the point of the breakout, as we can see right here. At least for now, we're still holding above that level. But with that being said, no longer really rely on this pattern anymore. And so that is why I always say two different things. First of all, I always say if we break out and set up a bullish price target, we cannot ignore other points of resistance on the price chart where the price can struggle at or possibly reject from, like in between 42.50 to 42.80, which is exactly what we saw at that resistance. So here on this channel, when I talk about trading strategies, I look at points of resistance and like to take profits just before those points of resistance, which is what I explained a few days ago before we saw this breakout trading opportunity here. And the other thing that I always mention when it comes to a trading strategy, especially when it comes to a breakout trading strategy, personally, as always, not financial advice, but personally, I like to move my stop loss at least up towards my entry, towards break even, ideally moving my stop loss further into profits as the trade moves further into profits, so that by the time we're, say, roughly halfway between the breakout and the price target, we already have a stop loss at least slightly in profits, so that even in the worst case scenario, if the price just crashes back down, that automatically hits the stop loss, automatically closes the trade at that level in profits. And so even if we have a situation like this where we only make it about halfway between the breakout and the price target, this can still be a very profitable trade if you follow the right risk management, like for example, taking profits around certain points of resistance along the way, just reducing the size of the trade, not closing the entire trade at any one level, but taking a bit of profits off the table around key points of resistance where we could possibly reject from, and of course having a stop loss, slowly moving towards the upside in the case of a long positions, further into profits to secure profits in the worst case scenario. As always, not financial advice, that's just simply explaining risk management when it comes to my trading strategies to secure profits, even if we have an outcome like this. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, right now Solana is starting to break out back above this area on the price chart, sitting in between 190 to 200. And recently this has been acting as short-term resistance, and in the past it was also a lot of resistance and also a lot of support for the price. So in the past this has been a crucial area on the price chart. So especially if we now confirm this 2-day candle close back above 200 and actually hold above this area, of course that would be a bullish signal, at least in the short term. And in that case, the next short-term resistance I'll be watching would be sitting at roughly $209, give or take, and above that we have significant resistance at around $230. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, technically speaking, the RSI is obviously still trending towards the upside here. We did briefly break below the ascending line of support for the RSI back here with that previous dip right here, but with that being said, because we're still trending towards the upside, ultimately forming higher lows and higher highs in the RSI here on the 8-hour Solana RSI, and especially because Bitcoin and other crypto assets are performing similar here in the short term, playing out just a short-term bullish trend, we're most likely going to continue this same sort of price action that we've seen over the last 1 to 2 weeks as a very likely scenario moving forward for Solana. But as always, don't forget we have points of resistance along the way. Like for example, we could find some short-term resistance at roughly $203 to $204, more resistance around $209, and more resistance at around $219 to $220. And so overall, that's what I ultimately expect for Solana moving forward and the key levels to watch out for along the way. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the daily time frame, we're still technically playing out this bullish divergence. It's not yet confirmed any invalidation signal, which means it's still playing out. It's still active on the price chart. And so as I've been saying every day over the last 1 to 2 weeks since this actually confirmed, expect just a slight bullish relief in the short term as a very likely scenario for the price of XRP. But of course, along the way, we'll run into certain points of resistance where the price will struggle at in the immediate short term, possibly see slight rejections from, like for example, this area that I've been warning about since before we hit the area, sitting in between $2.60 to $2.70. So at least for now, we're still struggling around this resistance, but the price is getting closer towards possibly breaking out above this resistance, which if in that situation, if we actually break out above $2.70 with confirmation, ultimately just continue to expect the bullish divergence to keep playing out towards the next resistance here, sitting at roughly $2.88, and above that expect a lot of resistance at just under $3.10. And so essentially right now we're trying to play out the bullish divergence, forming a bullish relief in the price, but struggling around resistance in the immediate short term. But the longer we press up against this resistance, could be a similar situation to Bitcoin, for example. The price was constantly pressing up against this resistance in the short term at roughly 112k, and the longer we press up against the resistance, the more likely we'll soon enough break that resistance. So that could be a similar situation for XRP. If we keep pushing up against this resistance here, soon we could possibly see a breakout here. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term on the 8-hour time frame, despite the fact that we're still struggling around resistance, clearly obviously losing some bullish momentum in the immediate short term, technically speaking, we still have an active inverse head and shoulders pattern with an active price target sitting at around $2.88. And so once again, at $2.88 based on this price target and also based on this previous Fibonacci level at $2.88 would be the next major price target for the price of XRP in the shorter term, in the next few days or in the next 1 or 2 weeks, as a very likely scenario if, of course, we first break out above $2.70. Remember, we still have a lot of resistance. We're still running into in between roughly $2.60 to $2.70 right here. And as always, if the price comes back down towards the point of the breakout and especially breaks below the point of the breakout at roughly $2.50, in that situation, that would invalidate the breakout, invalidate the pattern, and invalidate this price target. So keep that in mind. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, right now it's a very similar situation for Chainlink as what I just said for XRP. Technically still playing out this bullish divergence. We've not yet confirmed any invalidation signal here on this daily Chainlink price chart to invalidate the bullish divergence, which means continue to expect either some choppy sideways price action like this or potentially just a slight bullish relief as the most common outcomes, the very likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. So basically the price action that we've seen over the last 1 to 2 weeks, continue to expect that to ultimately play out around 1730 to 1750 and major support at around 1650 and also in between 1520 to 1570. And as for resistance, expect a lot of resistance really in between $19 to $20, especially in between $19.50 to $20 acting as strong resistance. And if we can break out back above $20 with confirmation, so a candle close above $20 and actually holding above that level in that percent move towards the upside, which could be a trading opportunity. But once again, we first need to actually confirm a breakout above $20, which for now is still acting as strong resistance. And so ultimately, those are my trading strategies, sharing with you completely for free, fully transparently here on the channel, how to make easy profits in the crypto market, showing you myself how to make easy profits. And of course, if you want to take these sort of trades for yourself, check out the links below this video to these exchanges. If you want to claim the massive bonuses that are only available, use the screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.
In the risk on markets. So, expectations and wildcards.
So I think Ethereum is chained. It's chained to the floor. I think. I don't think it can get up off this $4,000 floor and see an upside. I just can't believe with Bitcoin going to the highs we've seen it go. Ethereum has not really had a run. It hasn't. Has not had a run. Even its other run was on the backdrop of Bitcoin going up. And eventually, if Bitcoin keeps going up, it will pull Ethereum along with it at some point. But I think we're just going to see major rallies, major pullbacks, major rallies, major pullbacks. That's what I think we're going to see. But what do you think we guys think? Base 3 of these countries are Nigeria, Argentina, and Philippines, Vietnam. These are all countries that are leading. Basically, what this article says is that fixation on Wall Street is overshadowing real adoption that's happening in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. We still, Nigeria and the Philippines and Argentina, right here it mentions. Crypto adoption is expanding fast in those emerging markets. So the global south it's here. So for the year to June 2025, Asia Pacific was the fastest growing region for on-chain activity, 69% year on year. And you come over here and look and see with 25 in the dark black. You've got the APAC region, which is like Singapore. You got Latin America. You have Sub-Saharan Africa. You'll see that some, like Europe and MENA, had actually better growth rate last year than this year. However, all the other ones are showing much more growth this year. Sub-Saharan Africa and APAC. The next billion crypto users will be driven by people in the global south. We would like to use crypto to solve real world problems. Technology itself is neutral. How we use it will decide what happens going forward. We'll have failed to replicate the old, complicated, closed system for the rich. So, and I believe, guys, that's all we got for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Be blessed. Good boy out.
Sometimes when you fall into previous trends, you adopt it, right? If you guys ever noticed a scenario where you've fallen into a previous, it's not usually coincidental, but yeah, track the pace of the buyers here, see if there's any order books heading down towards this value area low, where we can prepare for pretty good shorts. Like based on the active structure that we've got going on, structure we form between this point and here, we might build a little supply concern, only have one little barrier to worry about, and then target this next barrier. So you can mark this wick level, prepare for the end run alarm. I have my own little template for crossing alarms so people know what trend line's an alarm, what's not. Once it gets touched, a few times we will sweep in a minute if you want to be annoyed until you come to your desk. So a good reason for it would either be the SFP and high. That's Solana. So yeah, if you're not in existing shorts, you're waiting for longs. CME gap about to be filled. Nice. Welcome, Awesome Mystic. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before. Only if... Yeah, we can slip 200k. A lot of people are targeting 100k right now. I personally think it's going to be front run. This is why there's just a lot of confluences prior to it that could induce a reversal. We have the value area low that we're approaching right now as we speak. We've got, we're my 108. We have the 200-day EMA here. And just below it, we have a 55-day previous value area high there as well. So lots of reasonings for a reversal here as well, guys. Yeah, I think for the time being, we're going to get a bounce off of this. At least first, before going down there. Nice when you're thinking about longs and the journey along the way back up. The barriers that we're creating is very small in comparison to what is created. 13k level that will likely still act as resistance when we come back up there. Who's that behind you? That's Jim Cramer. Yeah, that's Jim Cramer the troll. You guys are only able to see the feet. But yeah. I lowered my desk for recording yesterday. We have the chat. Let's take a peek at our Zcash trade. Looking good. We're below the VWAP. Starting to get our change of character. But this needs to close. I don't know the indicator says change character now, but let's see if we can change that. Because when you SFP, you lower your chalk level. So this is our change of character level, right? Because we had that 2 candle pullback, creating a strong low. We didn't have a proper pullback here, so we didn't create a strong low. And when we came down, we broke that. We actually got an SFP, so it actually lowered our chalk level. We had to have the body close below here now. Brian McManus. Okay. Almost there.
Hey.
I'm going to mark an
Hey.
alarm here. The reason being is, so I'm going to have my alarm. So if we have an opposing bullish change of character, I'll definitely take profits if we break the VWAP in confluence with the bullish change of character. All right, alarm set. You guys will probably hear that alarm because sometimes it does jump scare me too, especially if you got those headphones in. All right, swing heat map. Let's go to the 24-hour for a second. See how the newly formed liquidity is being created. See, look at this. All that liquidity has been taken. We're starting to go cold. We're seeing new liquidity being added right now as we speak. People are jumping into their longs way too soon. I don't know what people are doing with this high leverage longs. Wait for something first. You can't just assume. Just because there's like liquidity there doesn't mean we're going to be using it as buyer's liquidity and actually get a reversal. You got to get that structure first. That's how you get knocked out. In situations like this, like just instead of just expecting a SFP sweep, let me take a look at this here for a second. Okay, we're good. Yeah, I gotta mark. Is that equal lows? Low of 111.110. Low of. This is open. These represent what's going on with the candle that you're hovering over top of. It's your open, your high, your low, your close. So sometimes it's helpful to look at those numbers to see if a certain candle has swept a low of a previous candle. Also, using the magnet tool to cling on to the price action makes it a lot easier too. But when you have a hairline like this, Oh yeah, that went lower. So we swept that. 5 minutes until this is technically what's called a legacy SFP. And the legacy SFP target's really dramatic because we had such a harsh drop. It would technically be this high. But I don't trust it. We know that still liquidity below us, and new liquidity is being like a bullish change character if we're going to be jumping in a long very low or value very high. C Cash doing well. Yeah. Yeah, it's crushing it. What is my... So I'm up $123 right now. I'll share my Blowfin. Yeah, stop loss right above the wick, risking to lose $100, and I can never really get exactly pinpoint to the exact dollar. So I got up like 10% against my risk. There we go. That's better. That looks like the actual price action. So at this point, I could move my stop loss to here. So now I'm only risking to lose $32 instead of my full 100. Up $124. I got my TP set for here. You always got to be aware of the what ifs, but depending on how we perform near these highs, I may just close this and prepare for the evolving target of the daily SFP that we were talking about before. It's looking good so far. We're just above our 1-to-1 based on our entry. You can see where we entered. It's right. But what we swept in the past, it was a legacy SFP. So sometimes I like to give it a little time to see what kind of decision it wants to make. And we're starting to head down. So we went on the candle close together as a community in the trade hunting call. But I'm glad that during this live we had a return back to these highs so you guys can join us on the trade. What's the consensus here in the chat? A lot on-chain data to tell the story. I need to know what's going on in the background to tell the story. I have to get into the habit of creating polls for you guys for those kind of questions. I see other YouTubers. I'm kind of like learning from other YouTubers and how they do engagement and stuff like that, because that's what I struggle with when I was like, because I'm a trader first, a YouTuber second. I'm not an entertainer. I don't know how to entertain. I can give you guys I answer all the questions you guys want, but I'm not really good at entertaining. So I gotta get used to that without changing who I am. But I'll tell you, my opinion on the top is that this is not the top for me. On-chain data suggests that the bull market is evolving and not ending. Here, right? There's a key level that we have to watch on the Newport chart, 0.5 to 0.6 level. Of sell walls between 3,000 and 500 Bitcoin. And if I go to the Bitcoin chart, I'll show you what it looks like relative to the Bitcoin chart. So this is the daily right here. I'm sorry about the mess again. But this is where it really started kicking in. The manipulation really started kicking in. Is around this range. Right after we had the ETFs launch right here. And during this point, we had massive sell walls build. Those sell walls are great indications to prepare for shorts, which is kind of nice, right? But we have these massive sell walls build and price suppress here, and we come down and we get to like the zero here, 0.5 level and the 0.6 level in the Newport chart, and now we're starting to head back down to that 0.5 level again. And if I show you on the Newport chart how it looks, if I zoom out first, all, okay. So this has helped me call the bottoms and the top. This has helped me call the top when we got overheated. The overheated level is around 0.7. When we get to 0.7 freak out when you have a daily opposing change of character, because that's very, 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 very likely to be the all-time high for the cycle. We have not had that yet. Instead, we had price suppression at the 0.6 level, and we keep pulling back to the like 0.5, 0.45, and every time we get there, price suppression brings the price down. It's like they're coiling up for a big move, shaking out retail as much as they can, because we look at on-chain data and we look at the addresses and the balances of the addresses. It's all the low balance addresses that are getting shaked out, and the sharks and the whales that are accumulating more and more and more, and those addresses are growing. And zooming back in, so you guys can see recently from that crash that we had. Well, I guess it's not considering the wick into this, but here on 106K, we were below this level, right? And now we're starting to rotate back up slowly to like the 0.58, 0.6 level, where I'm going to be very careful around that area. If I start seeing a massive sell walls again, and I'm anticipating for this to be around, like based on the cooldown that we just had, I'm anticipating for this to be around like 140K. And around 140K, yeah, right back down to the 0.5 level. But if instead we see like continuation posture instead of reversal posture and no evidence of giant sell walls, then I think the blow off top. And once we have that daily bearish change of character, I'm selling all of my Bitcoin. And I'll post it on Twitter. I'll want to be holding this thing. So yeah. I don't want to go too in detail on that. But like, yeah, so when we get to around like 200K, daily bearish change of character, over here in the new pull chart, that's where I'm anticipating the all-time high to be for this drop too, but we could front run all that. Let's going back to the 15-minute. I do got to head out in about 15 minutes or so, guys. I'm on a time crunch. I'm helping Alex with crypto with something, and I got a video that I want to release for you guys on Friday. That's a lot of fun. We got a candle close. We didn't get the SFP sweep off of this, so we can delete that. That's been invalidated, at least on the 15-minute time frame. The hourly, yeah, like I said before, I really want to have that bullish, opposing change of character more comfortable. Even though there's a lot of liquidity here, doesn't mean we have to have a reversal here. Around this value area low, maybe we'll get this sweep ping pong effect between the 200 and the 50-day EMA. Right? We have this is the daily 50 right here on my screen, and this is the 200 EMA right here on my screen. And these create crunches in the price action. My win rate usually drops when we're trading between this, but this time around I actually have been doing really well. Just something that I noticed about myself and how the price action kind of adjusts behavior. I think it's because of the value area confluence kind of syncing alongside with the 250-day EMA data. That's kind of helped assist with the trades rather than cause resistance. I hated this so much. I couldn't stand this. We had a confirmation formation structure, break a structure, follow through, change of character on this large double bottom. But if we look at macro, if we look at this here, one thing that might make some traders nervous, and like this is one of my confirming the all-time high rules, but it's only one of 5, 16K. Or at least that's when we started predicting that this was the bull market. We started buying Bitcoin at 16.5K. That's when I entered in my inverse perpetual long. And we just lost that recently. And we zoom in, we're seeing that we're potentially using it. I'm anticipating that we're going to range here instead and have a continuation to the upside. Now, as we speak, the capitulation point for Bitcoin is around 70K. And that's when over 50% of holders are holding at a loss. And every single time we see Bitcoin come down to the capitulation state, that we have our backtesting call today at 3:30 until 5. Justice says that Alex is going to stream FOMC. All right, on. All right, cool. We're getting a little bit of bounce off of our VWAP. We did have that break below it, but now we're kind of like pulling up a little bit. This is our downtrending momentum right here. I don't know why, but from my last edit there, it kind of had that memory. There we go. To here from the short. Zoom in on the 3-minute. We didn't have a proper healthy pullback here, but we do have like that double bottoming kind of posture. We did hit our head off this previous low, inducing this sell shadow wick, driving the price back down a bit. We're kind of like sweeping that high. After being at a high liquidity zone, I can see why Zcash is having that bullish reaction. But yeah, we don't really have the reversal posture yet from Bitcoin. If we had reversal posture on Bitcoin, the bullish change of character, then I'll be a little bit more cautious with the Zcash trade. But right now, everything's still kind of telling us that we don't have evidence yet of a reversal. Coma, Ethereum 15-minute SFP with crazy RNR. Oh, let's take a peek. Ethereum. We got a lot of tabs now. So let's look in the 15-minute. Oh, we have a bullish SFP. Technical target. It's way up here. Supply zone in our face, though, right here. So yeah, we did get that sweep. Good eye there, Coma. Not sure if you took the trade, but it confirmed right here. Your stop loss would be below this wick. So if you have an opposing change of character or evidence of reversal in this zone, you should take some off the table. So just be very cautious in case we have an opposing change of character here. Probably on the 3-minute. You can use the 3-minute for that, because the 15-minute is not going to give you the posture for that. But yeah, this is the technical target. It is really good RNR. So 1 to 7. Where you are right now. If you close half at your 1 to 4, and then you move your stop loss to break even, and your stop loss were to get hit, it would have gained 200 in that kind of scenario. It's kind of healthy to TP in opposing confluences like this. Take a peek at Zcash. Zcash is still, got the drive down from the momentum. We want this to be bearish engulfing. We want this to close below here for that extra confidence that we're going to be coming down lower. This is only a 3-minute though. 5 is still like showing us wick posture against these bodies as resistance. But yeah, we definitely want to have that break of structure follow through. So the VWAP's on our side. And then we have this new high as a stop loss guard. And we can evolve our stop loss from our break even to our into the profit zone. Right. And we have some relative weakness on Zcash, which is nice. And Zcash has so much relative strength, it makes sense for it to have some relative weakness. At least body-wise. I think wick to wick, it's pretty on edge. I think this green candle is lower. 1, 2, 7. And on this one it is 3, 3, 1, 2, 5. Okay, so this red candle is lower. At least on Binance. I'll send this back. If you ever find like the candles are the opacity of your long position tool or your short position tool is just annoying, just right click on it. Visual sometimes it's a little hard to see. I know what you mean, man. We have 123 views right now, or close to our record. What's up, guys? Subscribe, like, share. If you've noticed anything or maybe have a plan. Honestly, man, when it comes to FOMC, it's good to stay away from the charts. If you're away from it, stay in your position, of course. FOMC is very predictable. Things are already priced in, and then you don't see a very harsh reaction. But when things are unpredictable and then something wild happens, then the markets tend to be a little bit crazy. So it's good just not to trade during FOMC because market structure gets disrespected. You get what's called here. You have like can saver. Don't hate me. But yeah, I'd recommend staying away when it comes to FOMC. It usually coincides with what kind of reaction we're going to get from the FOMC anyways. But you have to, once FOMC starts, if they don't have that distance. What time is FOMC? It says there's been front run news on this, but yeah, right here, 2 o'clock. It's the particularly in reaction to jobs. Okay. Yeah, Pluff, you said it correctly. If you're new, don't trade FOMC. To make up momentum, it's good to just step away from that one trade. It's usually best to stay away. But it does look like Bitcoin is point control on these previous lows. But yeah, 110. Yeah, you can use the code. How you doing, man? We gotta talk about W. Okay, so W. Zoom out first. Zoom out first. You can see just recently hit the downtrending macro momentum, and yeah, about 240 days. Significant. So there's an opportunity for getting squeezed off of the value area. I don't know what the conduit's going to be to induce the reverse days, but like right now as we speak, we're coming down towards this local demand zone and 10,270. I could see for like a bullish SFP and maybe breaking downtrend momentum for continuations. We'd have to take it one step at a time, but basically induces a change of character and then gives us a continuation towards new highs and breaking this downtrending, this descending triangle here. Descending triangles, when they break to the upside, the technical target is just the high, but this is a great spot to prepare to help you carry it up. This can be moved here. It's a big, strong key level. But yeah, being at a macro value area high like this, if we look at the internal squeeze, it doesn't suggest like 68 days. It only suggests about 4 days. And we know crypto out 30% prior to the apex point. So we're pretty much at that point now. So if we're going to prepare for the big move to occur soon, I think it's going to be a wild opportunity. We'll have to take, like I said, one step at a time. SFP to SFP targets, change of character, requirement. But yeah, the big boss would be this guy here, alongside with the confluence of the 50-day EMA. And we have supply here that's running alongside the point of control too that we got to watch out for. But yeah, this is a good spot to prepare. So we need to have an SFP here or a bullish change of character on like the hourly would be a great one. The bullish change of character on like the 15-minute isn't really significant because it doesn't lead us back inside the macro value area yet. We have to break this high, which is where the hourly change of character will come and play. So I'll be looking at the hourly for the hourly SFP or for the hourly bullish change of character to know that I'm likely going to be going into a position of strength. What is H-bar all about? We can talk about the price actually if you like. The asset itself is interesting. There's a nano smart contract technology that allows people to basically mint contracts just by playing with a toggle switch. You don't need to know how to code to create your own smart contracts because of H-bar. So if we go to the H-bar's price action, I don't know if I have an H-bar tab open. I do. Okay. H-bar, we talked about that already, where we lost this parabolic curve. When you see called a parabolic curve, and when they break, it normally brings us back down to the lows of the curve. Because you got to think of this as liquidity, this trend line as a liquidity line, and we come down every time we have a low, strong low created. You got to visualize the order flow. We have stop losses below these lows. We have liquidation levels below these lows. So when we lose this momentum, we tend to fall. And we end up creating a neckline to a potential double bottom during that situation. If we zoom out a little bit, we can see we have uptrending momentum on H bar. And this double bottom, if we do produce a double bottom here, we'll be honoring this neckline as support for this massive double bottom posture. Just after mitigating this momentum, it could help us induce this more macro break of structure for continuation back into its previous range. Zooming out on the 4 hour here. And this range has been, we had this consolidative range for, about 90 days. So getting acceptance back inside that value area again would give us a rotation likely to the value area high at 26 cents. So this rounded bottom that we're potentially forming soon again could be a front run to the high. And of course we have barriers along the way. Like we have a 4 hour order block here that could induce a pullback, but then we have the value area on our side and we can use it as a guard to our capital once we had that follow-up break of structure inside the value area. But this is a descending triangle as well, similar to what we were seeing on W. And in this case, we broke to the downside. You get the story of a descending triangle is basically that demand zone. And this was the demand zone right here that we're defending until we finally lost it. The order books tell a really good story in these because you'd see like massive buy walls just waiting around here. But once the buy wall is gone, the side's likely going to win this battle on October 10th. So everything. But yeah, we got into the supply zone. We came into a previous day VWAP, like two bearish things. We're coming into it like that. And it's up to your entry. So you'd hope for a pullback. And we got the pullback. So if you pull your fib here to here, you got your golden pocket. So you can enter with a limit. Lost the momentum shortly afterwards. Lost the previous high as support. And now we're coming down and testing that support as resistance as we speak. So I prefer this to happen on the 15-minute so I can use the 3-minute to look for an opposing change of character in our 786 golden pocket zone and then enter based off of that, knowing that we're going to have weakness. But instead we had like a tweezer kind of top we taken or the engulfing candle to be at least beyond the equilibrium point. In this case, it was beyond the equilibrium point, which is the halfway point between a candle. Game for longs, similar to what we were looking at with Bitcoin. Around here at 19,343, we have an order block on the 15-minute time frame. I can zoom in on the 15 so you can see it. Right here where we had this doji candle and then an impulse candle reaction after that. That's what an order block is by definition, guys. If you see like a indecision kind of base candle, your wick to wick is your order block, but your the confirmation is the engulfing candle here. It has to close above this. So long as it closes above that, we have our order block. So I'm thinking that area, and depending on how long we drag our feet to get there, we might have the uptrending momentum on our side too when we test it. When we get that bullish change character occurrence. That's H bar. I hope that helps you out. Esther and Bitcoin correlation too strong, I think. Oh, do you? Let's take a look. We have an Esther chart. We're in the supply zone now for the SFP, so just be a little cautious for Ethereum. Let's go back to Esther. Esther lost its horizontal support. When we were taking that, I didn't catch that one, unfortunately. Let's update this. So we had our supply zone here that we were watching. That was mitigated from this double top. It was helpful to prepare us for the short. The neckline break was probably now. If we clone this, let's delete this, clone this, move it here. A supply zone in confluence with these previous lows. We used this valley area, this previous valley area as resistance during this moment. warning us that we're going to come down to a previous value area or create a new one. So that was great confluence for this drop. Our short. Let's go back to Esther. Sorry about that. I have an alarm set down here. I should probably delete that. Mark this low at 93.04 as well in case we get a local SFP. We have candle pullback on that time frame, and we got 3 consecutive ones. So if we do come down here for an SFP, then we qualify for an SFP. Actually, one on top of the other. A little awkward when you see that kind of stacking. This is a great one here. Demand zones, for those who are new, what you want to look for is like an impulse move, base of structure, impulse move. And then you got yourself a demand zone. Same thing for supply zones, which basically helped drive the price down when we came up through here and caused resistance when we came through here the second time around. So we need to adjust this to look more bullish for psychology. I can see that we got that bounce in that area. Did we sweep a low? We did get a legacy SFP off this low. I don't think the SFP target is going to be hit, unfortunately. When we swept this low right here with this candle, it gave us a SFP technical target of this high. Turn around. Especially since we have this, the target itself is a supply zone with the 15-minute order block and a VWAP in confluence with that. So I think we're going to get our head hit off that area. So what I'd look for Esther, guys, is just that return for a sweep for an SFP and hit the local target, which currently the local target suggestion based on the active price action, this could definitely change. But right now it's suggesting this high. All we would need is like a low, a 2 candle pullback to evolve that target to a lower level. Okay. So just give you guys a recap because I do got to head out. I got a call with a community member in 10 minutes. So here, I'm looking for longs, preferably at 110, 300 area. If we get this bullish change of character or an SFP off 109.6, then I'm looking for new ones. We created this one here. I could mark that up for you guys who are using my charts. We had a sell wall that induced this drop. That sell wall could reappear there, just to be aware. All right, so let's delete this. This represented a sell wall that we saw in the order books. Is looking good so far. We just had a descending double top when we're testing this downtrending momentum. What we really want to see, what we don't want to see is a bullish change of character off of these previous highs. So I have my alarm set here so I can be aware to look at the charts during that time and notify the community if we need to take some profits or get out. If we break through that, then awesome. This is our next spot, which is where our technical target is, right here. This is our next spot that we need to prepare for an opposing change of character that could warn us to take some profits or get out. But ultimately, what we really, really, really hope for is a break of this low because of the daily structure is telling us that we're coming down because of this daily SFP from the macro previous all-time high. The daily structure is suggesting that we're coming down to $227.52, way down here for our last pullback. We do have to watch, other than the lows that are local price action, we do have to watch the point of control. We have double distribution here. So that means we have 2 strong areas of interest with this valley area that could induce a bounce. So you got to treat it like there's 2 points of control. So that's why I got 2 labeled here. I got one labeled here at 268 and one here at 238. And both of them are prior to hitting our target. I'd be super happy just hitting our local target, but we do have that chance where our trade could evolve to like a 1 to 10, and depending on your stop loss, could even be like a 1 to 20. But yeah, it's looking good so far. If I go to like my Blowfin, I do recommend, if you guys are looking for an exchange that's safe, I do recommend Blowfin. They have like a lot of good reserves. I do have a link down below to save you guys money on fees. Like 20% gets returned back to you as cash. I know I sound like one of those sales guys, but no. Always pick your exchange based on the reserves and security, not based on the fees. All right? If they're not showing their reserves, like for example, KSX, then you have no idea what they're doing with their money. All right? And you have no idea how stable they are from a crash like we saw recently. And some of them could be bleeding right now and you don't even know it. Can we look at render? I really wish I could, man. I can for you next time. My next live's on Friday. I do a big giveaway on Friday too, $6,000 prop fund account, and we're giving away a free membership as well to the community. You can reach out to me inside the Discord server and send me a message there, and I can look at render for you after the call I'm about to do in 8 minutes. But yeah, guys, I gotta head out. You have yourself an amazing day. I hope this live has helped you in some way, and if it has, please subscribe, share it to your friends, like, all that fun stuff. I had a lot of fun with you guys. We had a lot of people attend today. So I'm glad to see you guys all coming here. Have a great day, guys.
Bitcoin has just hit an absolutely crucial zone of support, and in
Pushing 2 years. Wait. No, in over 2 years. In over 2 years, Bitcoin has not closed a weekly candle down inside of this indicator. So when it does, and if it does,
we are going to be heading into the bear market, folks. But as of right now, I don't think that's what's going to happen. My opinion is we get a bullish reaction from the FOMC today. My opinion is that Bitcoin holds strong here in this channel, and I don't think we see this happen. We are at a prime area and set up for a big, beautiful bounce. As Donald Trump would say, big, beautiful bounce. No rate cut. That could be the catalyst. No rate cut. That could be the catalyst that breaks the support line. Now, let's jump in here and see what we got going on. Again, guys, don't forget to smash the like button if you have. Don't forget to smash the like button if you have not yet. It's free and it really helps the stream. So thank you guys. Can we get 100 likes on today's stream? That would be fantastic.
The legality of the subpoena, they apparently backed down and they abandoned the effort altogether. So it's very curious why Verizon just rolled over and went along with this lawless request and didn't move to question and didn't move to quash the subpoena. So we'll get to the bottom of that. It's important to realize Lady Justice is blindfolded. The American people want that one tier of justice, equal treatment under the law, equal access. And we're not going to stop fighting until we can ensure that the weaponization of government that occurred under Joe Biden does not ever happen again. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the next portion of my remarks be placed separately in the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Late last month, I had the honor of joining President Trump in the Oval Office as he signed an order establishing the Memphis Safe Task Force.
All right, so Senator Blackburn speaking on the Senate floor. They're talking about the Arctic Frost investigation by the FBI. It was a Biden-era investigation that looked at more than 160 Republicans as part of their investigation after the January 6th Capitol Hill riots. So again, we will be keeping an eye on that as we are going to be hearing from Senator Grassley doing a news conference a little bit later this afternoon on Arctic Frost and the latest subpoenas that the Republicans are doing right now on Jack Smith and others. So we'll keep an eye on that for you right here on Live Now from Fox. We'll take a 2-minute break. We are still awaiting Secretary Kennedy to be speaking on the Trump administration's efforts to lower drug prices. We'll have that for you.
I personally am a fan of Kennedy. What about you guys? Just a random topic here, just a random question. But I am personally a fan of RFK. And I am actually, you know, something I don't really understand is how people are so blind to the truth, you know, that it's to the point that when truth is presented to them, the truth looks like a lie. And it's a sad state of society when the majority of society is so conditioned to believe the lies that the truth feels like a lie. And for example, healthcare, food, you know, so many things have been taught to us, handed down by generations, taught to our parents, taught to their parents, which eventually gets handed down to us until we decide it's time to break it. You know, and I don't know about you guys, but I have been on a warpath of breaking those generational curses, man. And I think that it's a good thing to encourage. I think it's a good for us to all encourage. It's runs so deep, even all the way down to the education system. You know, our education system has really failed us over history. And so, you know, if you are one of those people that broke free from those chains of the conditioning and the brainwashing, comment in the chat. Body transformation, what's going on? Thank you for commenting. The relaxing sound says, I broke from it in 2006. You know, and it's probably been a lonely road. It was a very lonely road for you from 2006, I'm sure. I'm sure. You know, our whole entire existence, you know, stems from what we are taught. And it all falls back to what they were taught, and then what they were taught. And so, you know, when you really start to think about it and you digest the fact of where your beliefs even came from to begin with, where did your beliefs even come from to begin with? You know, are they even really your beliefs, or are they someone else's? So you know what? Shout out to the truth, man. Shout out to the truth, and to all of you guys that are awake. To RFK Jr. here real quick as we await the FOMC live press conference coming up shortly.
Cheaper generics enter the market. That system established by the 1984 Hatch-Waxman equivalent is straightforward. If it's but that bargain broke down Price Competition and Innovation Act. The pharmaceutical industry rigged the rules. Between 2007, they compared upon its unique grapes, the tannin content of its soils, the terrain, the humidity, the to achieve the unique aromatic and flavor complexity of its terroir. It was all clever marketing. None of it was based on science. Then to block pharmacists and doctors from switching patients to lower cost options, the lobby invented a fake distinction between biosimilars and interchangeable biosimilars. The result has been sky-high costs, endless red tape, and a biosimilar market that's still taxpayer. Just to bring one, we are ending this unscientific gates to affordable, life-saving medicine for the American people. One of the biggest drivers of these crushing costs is the price of prescription drugs, of course, and especially biologic drugs. These are complex medicines made, as I said, from living cells. Treatments make up only 5% of our prescription, but they account for more than half of our drug spending. Between 2013 and 2021, our spending on biologics more than doubled, from $100 billion to $260 billion. By 2024, it reached $407 billion. Some biologics cost patients up to $500,000 a year or even more. That's not a healthcare system, it's a hostage crisis. Why are these drugs so expensive? Because for too long, government bureaucracy and regulatory barriers have protected monopolies and stifled competition, cost equally safe alternatives to brand name biologics. And even when biosimilars do get approved, fit from a more affordable option. That all ends today. Today, the FDA is taking bold, decisive action to break down these barriers and open the markets for real comping biosimilars. Guidance that reflects modern science and common sense. Under this new framework, companies may not always need to effectively and just as safely as the original drug. The FDA will also consolidate several outdated guidance documents into one streamlined rulebook. We're cutting unnecessary red tape, reducing uncertainty, also help ensure that more biosimilars are considered interchangeable, allowing pharmacists to substitute to life-saving medicines. And we know this approach works. Since 2015, biosimilars have already saved Americans over $56 billion, $20 billion in 2024 alone. On average, biosimilars cost 50% less than their brand name counterparts, and their entry into the market drives down brand name prices. But America still lags far behind Europe and other nations. In Europe, for example, regulators have approved more than twice as many biosimilars as the United States, and patients there are paying far less for many of these treatments. These reforms reflect President Trump's directive to restore competition, to empower patients, and lower drug costs for every American. This is a victory for patients, for innovation, and for common sense. We're replacing bureaucracy with science. We're replacing monopolies with competition, and we're replacing despair with hope. Every American, the actions we're taking today move us closer to that goal and advance our mission to make America healthy again. Thank you all very much, and now I'd like to welcome the genius behind this innovation, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCarthy.
Commitment to lowering drug prices for everyday Americans. We're interested in everyday Americans. There's been a lot of talk about healthcare costs.
Thank you guys. Once it begins, we will tune in to that live, and at the same time keep our eyes on the crypto market and check on the Bitcoin price, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Solana, Ethereum as well. So don't go anywhere. We will be watching the FOMC meeting live and breaking down the markets in real time.
%, but significantly. If you haven't noticed, healthcare costs have gone way up since the promise of the Affordable Care Act to make the price of health insurance premiums more affordable, lowering them by $2,500. Within 7 years, they went up by $2,500, the opposite direction of the promise. The fastest growing area of healthcare spending in the United States is drug spending. And the fastest area of drug spending increases is with this new class of medicines called biologics. That's because they are derived from cell lines. It's an expensive process to develop biologics. So they are naturally going to cost more. But not 1,000 times more, not 10,000. I've seen cancer patients get biologics with results almost visible during the treatment. It's worked wonders, amazing benefits for patients with autoimmune diseases, patients after transplant surgery, patients with all sorts of cancers, rare and common. Biologics are amazing, and the biologic drug makers are not bad guys, they're good guys. We are doing a lot to promote innovation with biologics, streamlining and modernizing the FDA, our new pilot to get decisions out in weeks, reducing animal testing requirements, which reduces R&D time and the time to come to market. Almost $250,000 for some. Who's got that kind of money? Now, some people might say, look, I'm not paying for it, my employer's paying for it. Or I'm not paying for it, Medicare pays for it. Well, guess where that money comes from? It comes from the everyday American, from their paycheck deduction for health insurance. It comes, if your employer's paying for part of your health insurance, guess where that money comes from? It comes from a pool of money allocated to wages and benefits. It comes from you, the American worker. When you get a paycheck, there's a deduction for a Medicare excise tax. All of that money is getting routed towards these expensive biologics. And look, we should be paying top dollar for top products. But this administration is interested in the 80% of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck. This administration has not forgotten, as we have in the academic ivory towers, at the panels on conferences, in the hollowed chambers of healthcare experts discussing healthcare reform, we have not forgotten that 50% of a car breaks down, or you get a bill, or you have a copay for a biologic, that can be catastrophic. Well, there are low-cost alternatives to these expensive biologics. The good news is there are low-cost alternatives. Unfortunately, there are far fewer on the market than should
Lower
be
drug
because
prices?
of regulatory
Bullish
red
on
tape
crypto?
hurdles. There's about 76 that the
Again,
FDA
guys, we
has
are
approved
just awaiting
since
the
we started
FOMC to
approving
commence. Once it does, we are going to be
biosimilars. Think
tuning in
biosimilars
live
as
to
the
Jerome Powell.
generic version. There's a series of onerous requirements that the FDA has.
What are we going to do? What are we going to do once the new Fed chair is introduced, you know? No longer will it be the infamous Jerome Powell. What are we going to do when there's a new Fed chair name? You know, it's going to be weird, man. At first, you know, everybody's going to still want to say Jerome Powell, you know, the Powell pump, you know, the Powell money printer, brr. And now it's going to be whoever the nominee is, you know, to replace Jerome Powell as Fed chair. But it's going to be weird. It's going to be a lot of getting used to. It's going to be like getting used to, it's going to be like getting used to X being called X instead of Twitter for a minute, you know? Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree?
Lowered prices for drug development.
Sorrento
means
Flippo,
lower
Aster.
R&D costs
Thank you guys
and
for
lower
joining
drug
us.
prices for everyday Americans.
Patriot, thank you for
Today,
joining us.
the FDA is also announcing its plans to issue final guidance when a doctor prescribes a branded small molecule. The patient and their pharmacist can have that substitute interchangeability, costing time. When Humira, the powerful biologic which works wonders, came off patent, it petitioned more choices. When the first prices really didn't go down. Call 2 or 3 biosimilars on them. Call 2 or 3 biosimilars on the market. Right now, we're not doing fix that again are amazing that are about to come doing fix that again are amazing that are about to come. It should be 30%. It should be 30% or 40%. This implications for everyone and every stakeholder in healthcare. I want to thank the staff at the FDA. They've been wanting to do this for a long time. People have been talking about it, and there's implications for community pharmacies, PBMs, hospitals, and Medicare and Medicaid. And so because of the enormous implications for Medicare and Medicaid and the billions of dollars in potential savings, I'm now going to... Thanks.
Fashion that in Medicaid, and it's increasing about 9% for the commercial insurance. And to address these increasing costs, you have to have brave leadership. Secretary, a case in point, Marty, you're very kind to call me all the things you've said, but I can say without question, running the FDA requires a brave human being. You've got to be able to withstand tremendous pressures, and I want to congratulate the FDA Commissioner, Marty McCary, because he's been able to push for change that has been waiting for decades to occur. Secretary Kennedy went through these numbers. Just put that 1984 date in your mind. That's when waiting for decades to occur. Secretary Kennedy went through these numbers. Just put that 1984 date in your mind. That's when Congress acted and said these things called generics exist. It took a...
Are you ready? You ready? Are you actually ready? What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Thank you all for showing up today and joining us on this big day, the biggest FOMC meeting of 2025. Will we get the expected rate cut, or will it pump us into the next leg up for the crypto market? What do you guys think? Don't forget to smash the like button. Hey, other than hitting the subscribe button, that you can help support this stream and help it reach other people. And I do appreciate you being here. So if you could take 1 second, one little bitty free second of your time to just tap that like button for me. Come on, I see you. I see you. You can do it. Tap it. For me. Tap the hell out of it. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys being here. Again, I'm going to jump into the chat with you guys as well because I have got to holler at you guys and say what's up on this big day. Let's see if we can get the stream to 100 likes. And let's go, baby. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Will we get the money printer, pal? Or will we get the frightened pal today? The frightened... Oh man, I can't even keep a straight face. I'm sorry. I wish I could. Which pal will we see today? Oh, let me know in the chat, guys. Where are you at? Where are you at, and what do you guys think about it right now? What do you guys think? Let me see where you guys are at. Today, and we've got 452 votes now. Let me know. Comment in the chat. What do you guys think the outcome is going to be of today for showing up on this big day? Don't forget to actually subscribe and stick around and show up in the other live streams, guys, because we're gonna be bringing you some good. Smash the like and support us. We are a growing crypto community here. We love financial freedom through cryptocurrency. Thank you guys so much for. Thank you as well. Man, guys, I cannot say some of y'all's names. I'm sorry. Let's see what color tie he wears. Good point. Okay, let's see. What color tie will Jerome Powell be wearing in today's FOMC meeting? What do you guys think? Harry Max, thanks for hitting that subscribe button. Who's going to join him and join the AJC crew? Racio Gonzalez says, I'll buy 47,000 next year. So you think Bitcoin could go to 47K in the bear market? Seely Pidek, thank you for being here.
All right,
Educative Low, thank you for being here. You think
we're a $3,000 giveaway today, no matter what. If you want a chance to win $3,000, we're gonna have 5 winners, 6 winners each. KSEX, the exchange with the lowest fees in the game, 0% limit order, 0.01% market order. Make sure to check it out, guys. Today is a very important day, as we know. It is the day that the Federal Reserve is going to announce. This is actually going to be going to be looking hawkish or dovish. We got to give a major shout out to everybody in the chat here. God bless you. Shout out to Fred Sloan. Shout out to Mickey J643. Shout out to Red Elephant. Shout out to Blair Force One. Shout out to Bob Riley. Shout out to Preparing for War. Shout out to Felix H. Shout out to Hassan from Pakistan. Shout out to Florida J69. Major shout out to Barrett, to J Boy Bullish. So guys, today we are seeing, as we are getting ready for the FOMC, obviously we are seeing a big dip in the crypto markets. We are seeing Bitcoin down quite a bit. The total market cap is actually falling over 2% today. Pretty intense. And here's the thing. We are getting ready for a 25 commentary from our man himself, Jerome Powell, Chair Powell himself. Interestingly enough, guys, we are seeing money rotate into stable coins as we are getting ready for this rate cut decision. This is very interesting. 5% basis point rate cut. You know, the Fed is going to be easing its balance sheet. We would expect money to flow into risk assets. This could be very bullish for risk assets, stocks, Bitcoin, altcoins, other coins. But we're seeing a little bit of caution on the side of investors. Bitcoin, they're taking it out of Ethereum, they're taking it out of alts. They're putting it into stable coins like USDT and USDC. Why is this happening? Well, we can only assume here that people are awaiting for Jerome Powell's commentary to see what the Fed wants to do leading into 2026 before they make a decision as basically this big rate cut decision. I think the key right here is going to be Jerome Powell's tone during the press. Why do I say that? Well, let's quickly review what has happened with Bitcoin for the past few days here. We have come up to the top of the range, as can be seen right here. High from the setup given, we're back in this range. Okay, from the cash along with your take profit one. All right, personally, I did take a hedge from that area, as can be seen right here. I have hit a little bit of take profit on that hedge, short Powell's decision. We have to understand that this wick to the downside, this big wick, we're going to start on our daily time frame here. The big wick to the downside could potentially be extremely bullish. Jerome Powell coming out very dovish. Why do I say that? Well, because we have ourselves right here a very clearly defined sideways range. High of the range at about 125, low of the range at about 105. As we came and we took these lows here, we printed very bullish divergence left, very skinny on the right. We have this on the 1 day time frame. We have this on the 2 day time frame. Bullish divergence on the 2 day time frame. Bullish divergences. Next context. If our man, we're going to keep cutting. Imagine if you take a look at how things are looking here. As we all know, this was a little bit higher toward 117. Around this green box, I'd say roughly we're talking the 109 to 110,000. We had a higher high. We had a higher range to hold for another higher high. This is also going to allow us to trade on this trend line right here, respecting this power. If this doesn't